Working title, Adam, that is going to be the next thing we figure out is a title for this thing. But for now, we're just sitting here with a couple of World Baseball Classic hats on as guys who just love sports and love celebrating great games being played across the whole entire world. Brett Gallant, Jack O'Rourke, whatever you want to call him, alongside Ziggy Palfy, also known as the man himself, Adam Unruh. Uno, what's going on this week, first of all, before we get too deep into anything?
Shout out Ziggy Palfy. Shout out baseball. That's baseball, baby.
That is baseball. That's some other stuff too that maybe we'll get into one day. Who knows if we're going to. Adam, biggest story right now in the hockey league really is the trade deadline coming up on Friday. Obviously, the freeze subsides now from the NHL trade or from the Olympics play just a couple of weeks ago. Not a ton of huge moves yet. I saw Connor Murphy got moved. Was that last night or this morning?
I think it was maybe it got finalized this morning, but I think they were, the insiders were fighting for credit on that last night. I think so. I will call it last night.
So yeah, before we got a couple of different teams. We're going to talk about a bunch of fun things for you guys today. We're going to start out here in a little bit doing some bold predictions for the NHL trade deadline. The Athletic put out a nice article with all of their NHL beat writers. So we're going to tear them down, build them up a little bit based off of what we think of their NHL trade deadline opinions. Then we're going to head on over to the good guy of the week, a new segment here which I think you guys will have a lot of fun with. Then Hockeydb of the week. Adam, we're probably going on 5 years now of me going through Hockeydbs with you. I am so excited that other people get to watch this and this gets to be a real thing put out into the interweb. Fight of the week, and then a little tribute for our guy, Mike Lange, before we head on off to the Puckdoku to end things off. But Adam, before we get into too much of serious talk for the trade deadline, the moment of the trade deadline already happened, in my opinion. Vincent Trocheck, there's rumors flying around every corner of the internet. Every team's calling about getting a guy like him for the playoffs. Why wouldn't you? I've seen Minnesota link to him a couple of times on the internet in the last couple of days. Well, Adam, as the good parent that Vinny Trocheck is, he decided, hey, I'm going to get ahead of the curve a little bit here. I'm going to talk to my 7-year-old son, tell him there's a chance that, we might be moving towns, crossing ships. And he's like, son, buddy, we might get moved. We might get traded. And his response, Dad, you might get traded. I'm not getting traded. I got a playoff game. I got a playoff run to get to. You have fun out there. Adam, if your dad played in the National League and you were a 7-year-old out in South Fayette and you heard rumors of getting traded, moving off to a new town, what would you be thinking? Are you denying that as well? Are you saying, hey, pack bags, I'm staying?
Well, I mean, it sounds like his son's got a full no move, no trade clause in his So, I mean, good for him, right? Like that's why the Players Association exists. He doesn't want to move. He doesn't want to move. So, I'm sure they can find him a billet family there up in New York or Connecticut, wherever the hell the Trochecks live out there. But yeah, it sounds like it would probably be best for everybody in the NHL if Vince Trocheck got moved, but it probably sounds like it's best if his son doesn't move. He's probably sick, like his dad plays in the NHL. Like he's probably one of the best players on his team. If he had to get, their coach is loving that whenever he hears that. So a little bit of loyalty as well in the Trocheck blood. So good for them. Good.
No, you got to love that. Maybe there's a little bit of retained salary on like getting some of his buddies to come join him, like get them out of school for the rest of the year, like make a little post deadline move. But Adam, as we get into the trade deadline, there was 5 different teams' predictions in that Athletic article I referenced a second ago, bold predictions for the 2026 NHL trade deadline, that the opinions that the beat writers had really kind of intrigued me, I guess, to talk about. First one we got here before comes courtesy of Corey Lavalette, and it is for the Carolina Hurricanes, one of the premier teams here in the NHL. Great Stanley Cup odds, obviously. The prediction for them at the trade deadline, they will trade for Elias Pettersson. Adam, do you think that there's a way that shakes out?
I do. I'm going to give it a big fat yes, because I don't think the Hurricanes are a team that's ever afraid to try to make a move that shakes things up. And so I also think that it doesn't play maybe in terms of the favorability of the Canucks, that they've basically become just a huge dumpster fire, unfortunately, in the last year and a half. So I feel like moves for them are just inevitable. And Pettersson's the most high profile guy. He's got term left on his contract, which teams will love and will be willing to trade for him for. So I got a big fat yes on that one. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting one. I think anytime we're dealing with your good buddy and former friend, Jim Rutherford, being involved in a trade, things can bounce off the walls. A bullet that was supposed to go this way could ricochet off something and head right back at him. You never know how it breaks. But yeah, one thing you talked about is the term left on the deal for Pettersson. And that's where I think think makes this so intriguing. Because if you're looking at the NHL 5 years ago, Adam, or 10 years ago, even before you saw this world where the cap's going to increase every single year, if you're looking at a cap hit for 11.6 for a guy like Pettersson, you might be cautious about moving on from that or moving to get that at the deadline, in my opinion. But in a world where the cap just seems to be going up year after year, more and more every single year, basically, I don't think you're as cautious, I guess is the right word to say, going after a move like that. I mean, especially when you feel like the Canucks getting rid of Quinn too, like that's just such a that town is burning. Once again, no offense, no jokes there. But they have money to eat a little bit, if they need to retain like 15-20% of that deal.
Yeah, and like people, for those who aren't familiar, the Hurricanes GM is like just a straight up nerd. Like
Really?
I don't know if you've ever seen him.
No.
He's just like a dude that looks like he's like a software engineer. But he's a really smart guy that found his way into hockey as like a secondary type of career. It's not like he's one of these guys that's like a legacy hockey player who turns GM. So he's like a really smart guy. So that there's all kind of like backdoor calculations they got going on. But the other thing I was going to mention about the Hurricanes too, Jack, is that people forget that last year they were inches away from getting Mitch Marner from Toronto, and that was around the time that they dealt Rantanen to Dallas. So before that ever happened, they were a no move clause from Marner away from getting Marner in the door in exchange for Rantanen once they figured that he wasn't going to work there. So they're not afraid to make aggressive moves. I think the fact that they haven't won in the conference finals the last couple times they've been there too is really big for them. Like, I think they're trying to find anything that they can to just get the team over the edge, and they're worried about right now. They're not worried about 7-8 years down the road. So maybe like my bold prediction would be that Stankoven is involved in the deal.
Ooh.
Go back the other way if they make a deal for Pettersson. I think he fits the mold of what they want in Vancouver for future assets and all that. So give me a yes on that one. I think they can do that.
I will match you right there, Adam. Moving across conferences now over to the Western Conference, Colorado Avalanche. Adam started off like I want to say it was through like the first like 2 to 3 months of the year. They were on like Lightning from 10 years ago, Bruins from 3 or 4 years ago, pace of just like total world beaters. Kind of fell off a little bit before the Olympic break. I think they're stabilizing a little bit again now, but I mean, they're not what they started the year as. If they trade for Robert Thomas, though, Adam, there's a chance those puppies are getting right back where they were. What do you think about Vegas Golden Knights beat writer, interestingly, Jesse Granger, saying that he could see the Avalanche trading for Robert Thomas?
I don't know. Maybe because he's a Vegas beat writer, he's used to you guys in Vegas just being able to pull whatever shenanigans it takes to make these miraculous moves. But in my mind, I don't see how they can make a move for Bob Thomas. They just they freed themselves up a little bit of cap room with the deal that they sent Gerard to the Penguins for in exchange for Brett Kulak. And so they've got a little bit of room to work with there, but I don't think it's the cap space that's the issue for them. I just don't think that they have enough assets to give up for Bob Thomas. He's the asking price is just too high for a guy like him. It's not quite Quinn Hughes type level, but it's close. I think you got to have a first round pick in there. You've got to have a prospect of some sort who maybe hasn't played at the NHL level, but is a top end prospect. And then I do think that St. Louis needs somebody that's an NHL level player in return too. So that's 3 big pieces right there. And in my mind, I just don't see that Colorado's got all of them, particularly the prospect pool, just because they've mortgaged so much of their future on their current state of their team. And so they can build it back up, but they just don't have it right now in my mind. And there's other teams. I think Buffalo is one that's really knocking on the door. And with our luck, that will probably happen while we record this right now, because we're amateurs and we're idiots and we're recording this right now in the middle of the trade deadline week. So it'll probably happen, but I don't see it to Colorado.
Yeah, so an interesting name that I have seen linked to Colorado on the internet a few times now, though, and it's a familiar name anytime you're bringing up St. Louis or Colorado, is Ryan O'Reilly. Do you think that a deal for Ryan O'Reilly would make more sense to shore up the center depth in Colorado?
Yeah, that one would be more realistic than Thomas for them, just because the asking price for O'Reilly isn't going to be as high. It doesn't mean it won't be high, but I don't think it's as much as it would be for Thomas. Similar to Pedersen, he's under contract for quite some time. He's got 4 or 5 more years left on his deal, which he's only 26 years old. He just had back-to-back 80-plus point seasons. He's legit guy. So, like, it's going to be high for Thomas, not as high for O'Reilly. So, if Colorado does make a move for a center, then I would wager far more on it being O'Reilly than Thomas. Wouldn't be shocked if it's neither, though.
I was going to ask you about Robert Thomas too before we move on off to the next team, because I didn't really have a ton about Buffalo on the show sheet today at all that we really discussed. A very interesting team has moved towards the trade deadline. There is a little bit we can talk about them that we can get to in a second once we get past these 5 teams. Now that I think about it, but you piqued my interest a lot by saying you're linking Robert Thomas a little bit to the Buffalo Sabres. I'm not saying specific players, you don't have to do stuff like that, but like, what do you think it would take from the Sabres to ultimately strike that deal for Robert Thomas?
I think the one thing with the Sabres is that they have a lot of prospects, and that's the difference between them and Colorado in my mind. Like, they've given a lot of guys a shot, and it's almost like they're a little bit too clogged up right now with their forward room. Just like they've got all these blue chip type prospects that they really like, but when they look at their lineup right now, it's like, where do we put all these guys? So that's whenever you have the opportunity to maybe use one of those guys or 2 of them for making a deal for a guy who is a legit 80-point playmaker right now, which Bob Thomas is. So, like, I think of like a Konsta Helenius, I think of a Yuri Kulik, I think of a Noah Ostlund. I'm not saying that those are the specific guys, but they've just got, like, that's 3 that I can rattle off right for you right there. I don't know a guy in like Colorado other than like Ivan, who is technically considered a prospect for them that's, knocking on the door of the NHL. So
where does Ivan rank on the all-name team?
You might have to give me some more time on that one. He's up there.
It's got to be a top 5, though. It's got to be way the hell up there. Dallas Stars, they will trade for Rasmus Ristolainen, this coming courtesy of Mark Lazarus, who I believe is actually the Blackhawks beat writer. Adam, interesting one I wanted to ask you about with this is you see Sagan go down. You think like winger depth might be a bigger need for Dallas at the time. Do you think that a defenseman is the bigger priority? Is that the direction they go?
I think Dallas is okay with their forward group right now, to be honest. Like, they don't strike me as a team that's worried about not being able to score. And I think the other thing about Dallas is that their blue line is already really good. And like, they've got Heiskanen back there. He's a stud. Like, he can contribute on offense. They're not worried about that. Same with Thomas Harley, like both of those guys were just Olympians. Now, the name you mentioned with them, that the article mentions, is Rasmus Ristolainen. He was also an Olympian. I could see this one just because Dallas is really, they're all similar to Carolina in my mind. They're a team that's been knocking on the door of the Stanley Cup Finals for the last, 4 or so years, and they really want to get there. And I see one guy on their back end, Nils Lundqvist, who is right-handed defenseman, just like Rasmus Ristolainen, but he's not as big as Rasmus Ristolainen. And in the Western Conference, I don't think that you can put enough emphasis on how big of a body you can have on defense. So I think the physicality of Ristolainen is a really big upgrade over Lundqvist for them if they could get him. And also, I really liked what Elliot Friedman had to say about Ristolainen, which is that he's a player that went and played at the Olympics, best on best, and he didn't do anything to hurt his stock there. And so that can't be overlooked in my mind. If you go play best on best like that and you can hold your own, right? Like, you look like you belong there. If you're playing in that kind of environment, then you can handle big boy playoff hockey in the Western Conference in my mind. So I don't know if they've necessarily seen that from Nils Lundqvist, to be honest. And I think he's viewed more of it's supposed to be like an offensive defenseman, Lundqvist, and the numbers for me just aren't really there when I look at it in terms of offense. Like, so, if you're not producing on offense and you're also not a really big body, then I think that area that Jim Nill, their GM, looks at and says, give me Rasmus Ristolainen and let me plug him in there. So I can't tell you exactly what the return would have to be on that, but I could see them looking for, if it's not Ristolainen, at least a bigger right-handed shot defenseman. I think that would slot in where they need it the most on their team.
Adam, a very interesting one from Alan Mitchell over at The Athletic as well. the Edmonton Oilers will trade Matthew Savoy. It seems like with the lack of a first round pick coming up, there's no real assets you can trade out of there. And it seems like a big winger, right-handed defenseman, number 3 center, like whatever the need may be for this team, Savoy might be the name who has to get flipped for it. Do you agree with that?
I'm going to say no. And before I give my reasoning, I'm going to back up one step to Rasmus Ristolainen because I didn't know if you had anything to add on that. Another reason why I say yes to that is he's Finnish. They are the Finnish mafia in Dallas. They have 1 million Finns that play for that team. So he would go in and their entire blue line would be speaking in tongues of Finnish while they're out on the ice.
You think they ever get like a white and blue alternate jersey?
They should. I mean,
would that be dope?
Yeah, I mean, they should do a Finnish Heritage Night at the American.
I already do. How many, like, let me ask you this though. So if they do a Finnish Heritage Night in the Big D, like down in Dallas, what percentage of the crowd that walks into the American Airlines Center that night has any Finnish blood in them?
The friends and family section.
That's outside of that, there's zero.
Yeah, no, you're not finding a Finn in Dallas, except for their entire blue line and Rupe
Polar Bear in Arlington
and all those guys. So yeah, that was the last thing about why Rasmus Ristolainen is a no-brainer for them in Dallas, in my opinion. Matt Savoy out of Edmonton, I don't see this one. I think Matt Savoy's having a pretty serviceable year for them, and he's only like 22 years old. And that cannot be overstated enough for a team like them who, like you said, like they don't have the draft pick capital to really expend, but they also need to find a way to like sustain their lineup. So to me, that's a guy you got to hold on to. I like Matt Savoy the way he skates. I think he's a really good skater, which you can't ever have enough good skaters in your pipeline in terms of guys who are young and prospects. I think that more than anything, teams look at, can this guy skate at the NHL level? So I know that's really technical, but I think that you hold on to him for that reason. And this is his first full year in the NHL that he's playing. I think he can only get better. And he should.
It's like bouncing around when you're young like that too.
Yeah, and I think that yes, it helps so much to have a stable environment. Like that's a guy that if I'm in the front office, I want to invest in this guy and tell him that we want him to be part of the future, right? Like you've got all these superstars locked up. Like let's find a way to work this guy in there. He's fast. He's a skill guy. They've got Roslovic signed right now. Like maybe he's a guy that just ends up projecting like a Jack Roslovic type skill goal scorer type player in that respect. Like to me, he's just a good complement for guys that are already driving the play, McDavid and Draisaitl. So I don't like trading him out of there just because the other thing I would say is they haven't necessarily proven that they're having a good enough season this year to give up on a young prospect like that for a rental right now.
Yeah.
What do you
think? No, I think that's a very fair point. I think especially too with them, like if you just, eventually, that means happens in sports everywhere with every single team. You have to pay the Pied Piper eventually. Like it's going to come for Vegas one day. Like it came for Chicago eventually, even though people thought it would never come for Chicago. I promise Tampa will get it one day. Like when you have these huge contracts, like your McDavids, your Draisaitl's, like eventually you have to hold on to some form of young talent. Like when you have a Savoy, because what happens if you rip off Savoy right now and say you go get like whatever number 3 defenseman there is, or no, sorry, number 3 center there is lying around, like that's what you think is going to shore up your team for the playoff run. What happens if Leon Draisaitl gets hurt next year in October? And then you got Connor McDavid and nothing, just no hope of anything young. And then you had a bad year this year. Next year, you do nothing more special. And the next thing you know, like you haven't been, they were out of the finals for a couple of years, and it's not the same team. Like I think you're so right about when you're so cap strapped, you can't really get rid of the young talent.
It's just like, I know they've been to the finals in back-to-back years, and so they probably look at it right now as like, we got to get it done right now. Like we got to get it done.
Look what the Celtics are doing right now, dude. Like, I know Tatum's coming back early, but their whole entire they're like, hey, they won the finals like 2 or 3 years ago, whatever it was. They've been deep in the playoffs every single year. Okay, we got Drew Holiday's a starter, gone, trading him. Porzingis starter, gone, trading him. Like they move out, get Anthony Simons, and I know he's already gone, but like. And then that's how you do it. You can have one down year, and even if it's not like a down year, you don't need to go balls to the wall all the way out. McDavid's not 35, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Oilers, I think that, like you said, they don't need to tear it down in that respect, right? Like they don't need to demolish things right now. It's just that they I don't think that trading Matt Savoy is the answer. Like that's not gonna get them better goaltending. It's not going to, unless you can trade for like a stud defenseman or something, that would maybe be the only area that I would consider it. Now they just made the move for Connor Murphy, which you talked about, which it does help them. But if I'm the Edmonton Oilers, I wouldn't be worried about like what's Matt Savoy doing because the offense is not the issue for that team. So unless you can trade him for just an absolute bona fide stud defenseman, it's a no in my mind. And even before that, like actually no, I'm not even going to say before that. Like it's the team defense. That's what's really bad for this team. I'm glad that I have a platform where I can talk to 10 people every week now about this because I've been saying for like 5 years now that the Oilers will never win anything until they decide to try to stop winning games 6 billion in one to 6 billion because like that's all they try to do, man. They just try to patch holes that exist in the rest of their lineup with the dynamic scoring of McDavid and Draisaitl and Bouchard. And those guys are unreal, but you just can't win important games that way. They've come close, but I guarantee you, if they just spent a lick of their time and effort and assets on any kind of defensive, structure or players that can play actual defense, then they would have won a Stanley Cup by now. It's like the goaltending, like who cares who you put in net? Like if you're giving up 15 grade A's a game, it's just never going to happen. They're never going to have a top goals against average or a top save percentage. It's just I'm getting all riled up now.
I mean, no, they basically just like
It's so obvious what
we're
they
dating back to the Mike Smith days. They're just like, yeah, just go out there and just good luck. Just they're gonna fire 40 at you a game. You're gonna get 8 2-on-1s and just do your absolute damnedest to stop a puck.
they're
Adam,
yeah.
last one before we head on off to the of the weeks, the other half of the show, the of the weeks portion of the show. The Florida Panthers, according to James Myrtle, and maybe to the Oilers, maybe if they can find out a way to hush about $7 million of Jimmy Hoffa money off of this deal. Sergei Bobrovsky out of Florida, leaving Lottie. Adam, do you see any way that this happens with the year the Panthers are having?
I think that for the tough thing for Florida is that they're probably going to want a high price for him, and teams are probably not going to want to give up a high price for him for a couple of reasons. I believe he's a pending UFA at the end of this year, Jack. So, he's a rental, and he's also a goalie who, even though he now has Hall of Fame pedigree, he's having a down year. Goalies, you never know with them; they're a little unpredictable, and he's 30. He's 36 years old. Like teams, it seems like a little bit more of a risk maybe in terms of that for teams. So I think the challenge could be like, can you find a dance partner for it who's willing to meet you in the middle somewhere between. I'm sure the Panthers have a high asking price, and teams are going to try to lowball the hell out of them for him. But it seems increasingly more obvious now on March 3rd as we record this that Panthers aren't going to make the playoffs. So I don't think it would hurt them to trade him at all. I think you get what you can for him if you can pull something, Bill Zito. But at the end of the day, Jack, I think that given their recent success and how much he's, a legend for them at this point, I think it's kind of up to him. I think that if I'm Zito, I go to Bob and I ask him and I say, I can probably find you a playoff team or a bubble team to go to if you want. But guys love the no state tax, especially the Russians, and like he might just want to stay there. He might want to try to re-sign there. You never know. But I think if I'm the GM, I just go and I ask him. I think that one is as simple as it gets for me. It's his call. I think he's earned the shot, and it's not gonna do too much for Florida one way or another, in my opinion. this point.
Adam, I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head with this one, because you're at a point as an organization where, according to the fine folks, and I can't repeat enough, the fine folks over at MoneyPuck.com, the Panthers, as of right now, this exact second, on March 3rd at 5:33 p.m. Eastern Standard, 5.6% chance to make the playoffs. If that's the case, like, hey, you're not getting it done this year. As a franchise, I think that absolves you from any feelings you have of trading the goaltender of a back-to-back cup run. And you're right. It comes down to Bob, though. Like, you also, in that same respect, after a guy goes out and gets you 2 Stanley Cups, you don't dish him off somewhere without him signing off all the way on where he wants to be. I think you couldn't have said that any better. Adam, a new segment we have here. I'm very excited about this one because, Adam, we live in a sad world. I think that's just what we need to preface this with before we get into anything else. I mean, not even addressing anything outside of sports, and I'm sure anyone in the world could go on for 5 hours for you there. I mean, football season's over. You get the reports like every 2 minutes, like, oh, like this guy's in jail. Oh shit, that happened. NBA, you got Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups are just like they're just like going to trial for betting on games this week. Baseball, Emmanuel Clase tipping pitches, throwing games in the playoffs to make $10,000. You got Jerks and Profar, as you mentioned pre-show, Adam. Former number one, I repeat, the man who took the number one prospect spot off of Mike Trout back in the day was Jurickson Profar, a guy who battled his whole entire career, finally found a spot in the majors. Maybe it was because of the roids. Maybe that was just why. But gets popped for roids once, twice now, 162 games. Adam, you made a great point about steroids and a lot of these off-ice things in the sport of hockey earlier today.
Yeah, well, like you never see a hockey player get a full season PP whack suspension for being on PEDs or anything like that. Like, we're talking about protecting the integrity of the game and being gentlemen and having respect for the history and those who have come before you and those who will come after you. And that's what the National Hockey League has more than any other league, I would say, Jack. You just don't see guys putting needles in their asses like Jerks and Profar. And
no, you don't.
When I got that Jeff Passan update today, the Elliot Friedman of the MLB, I just like that kind of stuff. It just rolls off your back at this point for the MLB. It seems seems like that's the reputation they've kind of earned. Like, yeah, like Emmanuel Clase, who's I don't even know how many millions of dollars he's making on his contract. And like,
do you know how many he would have made on his next contract?
I'm sure it's an absolute.
He Adam,
which
I can say this very confidently. He is. I can say this very, very confidently. He's the dumbest human being on the planet. I have no bones about it in my head. He is the dumbest human being on the planet. I think he gave up probably $125 million USD for $10,000 USD.
Yeah, US standard coin. I mean, like, what are we doing? Like,
no, I digress. This is not a Class A show.
Yeah, but like, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, he was maybe doing that because he was involved in a gambling ring in which him doing that was earning maybe some of his buddies. Like, he was earning the money for them, right?
Yeah.
Like, in which case, if, as you just mentioned, like 125 sheets of US coin, why don't you just write him a check? Like, it can't hurt you that much. Like, I think Seth Jarvis, like, they asked him about, like, his traveling band of buddies that came down for the playoffs last year and the Four Nations, and they went over to Milan. Like, I think I heard him say something like, like, they get taken care of. Like, that's how you do it. You just sign on the dotted line, and you do it through your local Chase Bank. You don't throw pitches 30 feet short of the plate just so that you can get a first pitch ball.
And Adam, let me even be so forthright. Let me be so forthright with you. If it's June 10th and we're 8.5 games up in the AL Central for the 10th straight year and baseball doesn't matter, just things are irrelevant. If he wants to skip one for a couple $1,000s, go for it. I don't care. I mean, I do. Not that much, but like, the second that we're in a playoff game, like we are in game 1 of the American League Divisional Series, I don't care that we were up 7-0 when he came in the game. The second that you are compromising a playoff pitch in a Major League Baseball game, you're an asshole. Like, I mean, you just ruined everything. Like, I mean, so that's the issue, Adam, is now I'm I'm almost as jaded as you as a baseball fan at this point, where I barely care about the MLB entering this year because we're going into a lockout in 6 months. It doesn't even matter. But back to our original point,
Yes.
this is why we're here talking about hockey, because shit like this does not happen in hockey.
Yeah, as they would say, that's baseball.
That is baseball.
This is hockey.
This is hockey.
Just to reiterate that, these are the finest group of competitors and gentlemen that you'll ever come across. And so the good guys of the week this week are the NHL alum, the current NHL players, and we have great faith that the future NHLers of generations to come will continue to be great men and will never have any kind of this controversy that seems like every other major sporting league has. Good example this week was the Hughes brothers. Just they're on like a little media circus type tour after the gold medal, and so like Jack is on Pat McAfee show, and they keep trying to glaze him because, oh my God, you're so humble. The humility is just oozing off you. Yeah, because he's a hockey guy, Pat. Like, it's not like the NFL where guys on the Buffalo Bills years ago are retiring at halftime because their team's that bad. That doesn't happen in the NHL. Jack Hughes is a competitor. All of the guys he's played with are competitors, and they would never do that. So, he goes on there. They go on Saturday Night Live, and then people are clapping for him there, and they just act like normal people, and it's not about them. They deflect all the praise, and they are on The Late Show, who Jimmy Fallon, same thing. And so I think they've been good representations of the gentlemanly aspect of hockey, and the no controversy, and just good people that hockey players are, good representatives.
Yeah, and I think especially too, it's just so cool to see hockey players on Saturday Night Live as well. Like, I mean, just as someone who's always grown up with like a deep fascination for entertainment, like Saturday Night Live is one of the pinnacles of entertainment, period. You could just go back generations, like in the 70s, 80s, and through, like some of the best comedians in the world. I think it was the first time I read since Brett Hall, maybe like over 20 years ago, that there was a hockey guest on SNL. So that's just so cool to see the really anytime the sport gets that kind of limelight. I would totally agree with you there, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, hockey guys are the best. So we'll try to highlight a particular individual going forward.
Adam, there's other ways to look at hockey guys too. We can give the Oracle version. People told stories mouth to mouth for a very long time, but there's a couple of other ways to tell stories as well, Adam. And one of them that I think we need to try out here for the first time, I can't even tell you how excited I am about this, is our official Hockey DB of the week. Adam, is it time to go? Yes, it is. Here we are. What are you seeing out of this young man here, Don Cherry?
Yeah, Hockeydb, the official DB of our program here. No other DB is going to give you the at a glance overview of goals, assists, points, PIMs, playoff statistics, years played, awards won, the same way that Hockeydb will for the professional ranks of hockey players. Shout out Hockeydb, my personal favorite on the internet. This is a young Don Cherry that we're looking at here, a name that might be familiar to people. The Coach's Corner, Don Cherry. Just like, he's an iconic name, but the name isn't really what makes a DB stand out to anybody, Jack. It's maybe something like the fact that Don Cherry only played one NHL game in his entire professional career, just happened to be a playoff game for the 54-55 campaign Boston Bruins. So that was what I liked about this one.
Yeah, have you seen Field of Dreams before?
Have I seen the Field of Dreams?
I was gonna say I got Moonlight Graham vibes out of this. Just got that one game cup of coffee up in the big leagues. But yeah. It's so funny too. If we can get a real quick view here too. Can you see this, Adam?
Oh yeah.
I mean, just look at that mustache too. I mean, a guy who's done it right, decade after decade now, time upon time. Don Cherry. Do you have a favorite Don Cherry suit? Born in 1934, also.
Yeah, still kicking too. Shout out to Don. I know he stepped away from Hockey Night in Canada, so yeah. Ron McLean's doing it on his own up there right now. The two of them were so good together. when you get them doing the hockey night in Canada for so many years, especially when we were growing up. But yeah, man, he not a bad coaching career there. The 70s Bruins, I mean, he had Bobby Orr in his back pocket there to use. So they made some runs, but they didn't get it done with him as the head coach. But you see at the bottom there, Jack Adams Award in 75, 76.
Wow.
So coach of the year for people who don't speak hockey award language. Jack Adams, coach of the year, Don Cherry in 75, 76. But
how about the Lewis? Is this the AHL version, do you think?
I have absolutely no
have
idea.
to think.
I would imagine that it is though. But yeah, just like when I look at a DB, I love for it to be just really long, like but for this one, it was so interesting to me that he only played one game in his NHL career. So Don Cherry, DB of the week.
Well, Adam, real quick before we go off of Mr. Cherry, I think interesting note for a guy like Don Cherry, who you love the old clips of like, here are the Flames walking in. They're 8 games under 500. They're dressed like a bunch of thugs. Like no wonder they're losing. And here we flip it over. Like look at the way Sid's got that coat all like tailored up nice. Like the Pens are hot again. Like we'll catch this matchup. Like for a guy who is so disciplined, the fact that he has 5 100 PIM seasons is absolutely ridiculous. I think that is my favorite thing about this DB. Adam, last thing on the DB before we kick it off. I need your favorite team name on here that Don Cherry played for.
Well,
there's one on here that it has to be.
Are you looking at the Kitchener Waterloo Beavers as well?
No, I was looking at the Trois-Rivières Lions of the EPHL. I think that is one of the best team names of all time. Don't think I said it right.
I think that's the that's the Montreal Canadiens ECHL affiliate right now, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's the same, but that is a good one. They're up in Quebec. That's why you got the little French in there.
Okay, fight of the week, Adam. As we're ready to go here, do you want to set the stage for what we've got?
Well, I'm just excited to see your reaction because I picked this for us for this week. And so not an NHL fight, but quick thing before we get into it. I think I saw the NHL post a little bit about the fight between Swayman and Vasilevsky at the outdoor down there at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, which was awesome. Vasilevsky being a southpaw was maybe the coolest thing that came out of that. But you never see the NHL post about fights. They don't let me just say this, right? We want to grow the game. Well, fighting is something that is entirely unique to hockey and
absolutely
no other sport can you agree to, beat the living hell out of each other and just, settle it like men like that and then go sit down for 5 minutes and have no kind of, repercussions given that it's a good, clean fight. And people love that. I mean, the game, I think it's good for the game, right? People always say the game polices itself. It's a good thing, in my opinion, right? Like, it's a part of the game. It always has been. And so if you're doing it the right way, then, who the hell cares? Keep it around. I don't think it's a big deal.
And we're going to show it. We'll hype it up.
That was my point, is if the NHL is not going to promote the hell out of that, then damn sure that we will. Because
we're going to be here. We're going to be here. Without further ado.
So, real quick, as this is going on, I want to point out
seconds to play in regulation.
at the end of regulation,
Bridgman will get it deep. 5 seconds to go in the game.
we're coming off the top.
Battling for it, and that'll do it.
All right, here we go.
My camera's focused on the corner, Jack, but notice the goaltender in the crease. He's still in the crease now. He comes out.
Now he's not.
Good pan there from the cameraman.
Oh yeah,
left to right.
I like the good backing out stance out of 30 and white.
Notice the fog that we're fighting through here too, because the game is over, and so the final kind of celebrations are going on, and then we're just trucking here at center ice. Unbelievable to the right.
Oh,
yeah, man, they weren't really. You don't want a bad goalie fight, and then we lean on the horn too.
You gotta love the horn on it. That's a great look too. of the young man in black for kind of initiating this as well and being the one to take it out of the crease. You could tell he was kind of being held off by the ref a little bit.
Yeah, I can't tell because you can barely see his feet come out of the crease. I can't tell if he sees the goalie in white coming down from the other end of the sheet.
Oh, you think he might have come in first?
I don't know who initiated it, but I mean, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, let's go a little replay on this one here.
Again,
I mean, if you're being held back, the other guy has to win the fight. No.
Very tough to see through the fog here because we are celebrating a 4-1 win for the Brandon Wheat Kings already. But, like, that just makes it so cool to me. Good work by the Fight Strap on the black jersey there, too. Fight Strap is really doing its hardest work.
You got to think, too, with the Brandon Wheat Kings jersey on there.
The goal horn takedown is so good.
Oh, the horn mid takedown? No, awesome. It's incredible. You got to think one day he's wearing a Vegas Golden Knights jersey. I think every single kid to ever play for Brandon Wheat ends up in Vegas.
Really? I haven't that deep into it. That's cool, though. That's
fun. I think Stone, Theodore, and a couple others. Howden, maybe?
No, man. I mean, what a sick fight. Like, the goalie fights seem to be, like, every other night at this point. Like, between Bobrovsky and Nedeljkovic, the outdoor fight with Swayman and Vasilevsky, and now you got these guys chucking it around in the Western Hockey League. I mean, that's so cool, man. Game ends, and you're just going to start going, just throwing down, just like that.
Yeah. Is there – because I was going to ask, because when we originally talked out what was going to be the fight of the week this week, Adam, I was thinking in juniors you couldn't fight.
No, I think it might be the QMJHL. So the Q might be the only Canadian Tier 1 junior league that you can't fight in. But I think that there would be a burning of every city that existed in the Western Hockey League in particular if they tried to tell them they couldn't fight. Those boys would never hear that.
What's your farmland kids too, right?
Tell some kid from Saskatoon that he can't fight. I mean, he's not going to hear it from you. So I think that's a QMJHL only rule. Shout out Mike Lange. Mike Lange, the voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins, rest in peace. He passed away just last year in February, but today, March 3rd, is Mike Lange's birthday. So big shout out to Mike Lange. Just he's the best to ever do it, Jack. I mean, I cried like a baby the day that he died a year ago. I got no shame, right? Like, I'm man enough to admit that Mike Lange was just the best. He was as much as a part of the Pittsburgh Penguins as some of the most important players that actually took to the ice for us. He called all 5 Stanley Cup runs for us that we won. And so he's just a special guy. For people who don't know, he's got maybe a list of the more iconic goal calls that you'll ever have in your Rolodex as an announcer. Jack, you used to announce games. How tough is it to have anything that kind of lands as like a signature type shtick for you, let alone like 40 plus?
No, I mean, it's just so ridiculous as a broadcaster to be able to do something like that, because one, it takes confidence to start your shtick and go with it too. Because you have to deal with backlash or like what people think, like, oh, is this nickname stupid? Anytime you come up with a nickname as a broadcaster, rule of thumb, no matter how good or bad it is, the locker room's going to chirp them for it for the first 5 weeks of its existence. Like, that's just how it goes. But Mike Lange, ridiculous career, and like the way it's an old school type of broadcasting that I don't think we get enough now, Adam. I think that's kind of the play into it too, where you had these like little unique phrases. Like, you don't have these like city by city like guys who just like everyone in the city knows their voice, like that broadcasters move around so much now. There's not as much like localism to it. I think regionalism and especially like nationalism for broadcasting is really taken over. So that's why you don't get a guy who every single kid in the city of Pittsburgh knows beat him like a rented mule. You don't get stuff like that anymore, Adam. That's why I wanted to ask you. Not going to limit it to just Mike Lange, but I would love to hear a Mike Lange goal call or two first. What are some of your favorite catchphrases or goal calls in the history of the National Hockey League?
I'm going to start with Mike Lange because he's our guy right now. Mike Lange, maybe the most iconic one when you open up the broadcast, Jack, is it's a hockey night in Pittsburgh. And then, you launch into your pregame. It's a Metro Division showdown between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New Jersey Devils, blah, blah, blah. But it's a hockey night in Pittsburgh comes from Mike Lange. Iconic on that one. The goal calls, I could go through so many for you. You got scratch my back with a hacksaw,
That's the best one.
shave my face with a rusty razor. Underrated one that I really love is I've seen that fish before. That one I have no clue.
It's so funny. You don't know what it means. It was awesome.
He's got a good one, Jack. I'll tell you, this one's my real personal connection here to Mike Lange. There's a good one he has where he'll say, "Oh no, Eddie Spaghetti," or "Bring Eddie the spaghetti." And Eddie Spaghetti is actually one of my good friend's father. And so I know Eddie Spaghetti well. He has made me plates of spaghetti before.
Wow.
He's an unbelievable guy. So shout out Eddie Spaghetti. And he can talk you through so many stories of Mike Lange because he actually ended up on the road with the Penguins. He was invited by Rick Tocchet to take a trip to Philadelphia with the boys while they were on the road out there. And so he has a good story about, seeing Mikey in the middle of the night when they get back to the hotel after a night out there in Philly. Mike getting them tickets to MSG. Are you kidding me? This guy, Mike Lange, getting you tickets for a game at MSG and literally like hanging his head down over the press box above you while you're in the 100 lower bowl section and, waving hi to you. And class guy, just unbelievable. Mike Lange is. The Eddie Spaghetti call is always good for me. I'm going to give you another guy that I really like, and it's Jim Hewson up in Canada, particularly with the Canucks, I believe. Jim Hewson, I think he has the
Has he been there for a while, let me ask?
I don't think he does the Canucks games anymore. I think he might just kind of bounce around nationally.
Was he like, if I'm thinking like Slade the Dragon era call?
The exact call that I was going to say.
Okay, yep.
Alex Burrows, they've slain the dragon. Jim Hewson, unbelievable. I just think he has like the perfect announcer voice. I'm also slightly biased because Jim Hewson was the NHL 07 play-by-play guy for the video game, and I played the hell out of NHL 07. So Jim Hewson, forever ingrained in my brain. They've slain the dragon. My guy, Jim Hewson. Who do you got?
Gosh, I mean, it's so. I'm gonna throw a really funny one at you first. And this is just this more is just drumming up my mind of the unique aspect more so. I wish I had the fellow's name, but the guy who does, I think you're going to know what I'm going to say once I start saying it. The guy who does PA for the Vegas Golden Knights does something unique that I don't think I've ever heard any other play or PA announcer do. You always get like a Blue Streaks goal, or like a and blah, blah, blah. He rips the scoring to start it, and I love that. I think that's just like a very unique throw on, but that's not an individual call itself. I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Rick Jeanneret just because I think just getting to hear, because I mean, obviously growing up in Cleveland, like we didn't have a hockey announcer, like we don't have, like that's not something that was ever in our bag, at any point in time growing up. Besides the great downtown Tony Brown, who does those Cleveland Monsters games. Shout out to Tony Brown. Maybe let's get Tony Brown on one day. So just hearing the way they would talk, I mean, in the same way that like you and Lamarck and those guys talk about Mike Lange, like just like the youthful love, like the way that like Rick Jeanneret and guys like that are able to bring out the kid in you again, like the way that you'll hear like any man between the age of 16 and 70 do their best RJ or Mike Lange voice and give you these kids are good, scary good, or the Mayday, 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 like whatever it is. So I really do have a soft spot for just those kind of voices in general, I'd say, Adam. Any moment in time that I get to sit down with you, put our two knucklehead brains together and try and knock out a Puckdoku. And we got one here today for you folks. Adam, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready to give a good sign off here.
Good, because I actually think I'm ready too. I got that up pretty quick, didn't I?
Yeah, we look good here, man.
Yeah, we are ready to go. Adam, okay, so just before we start as well, we're going for rarity, correct?
Yeah, I think that for people who haven't played Puckdoku before, you want to try to go for the lowest uniqueness score possible. Obviously, we want to go 9 for 9 here, and we don't want to get an incorrect answer because then we would tarnish any kind of credibility that we have, which is already none because all I did was play ACHA hockey, and Jack called the games.
I broadcasted it. I didn't even last.
We don't have much to work with here, so it's critical that we go 9 for 9. But uniqueness, we want to keep it as low as possible. It's like golf, like let's just try to keep it as low as we can out there. So do you got anything that jumps at you here first?
So I had one thought, but I think we can go even lower than that first thought. So the first box that stuck out to me was born in North America, New Jersey Devil. And that was podcast alumnus in this branch of family of podcasts in some way, shape, or form. You can tie Devils forward Paul Cotter back to this show. And I would like to throw his name as a possibility out there. But then I was trying to think of former Golden Knights who used to play for the Devils, like a John Merrill type of guy, maybe as well.
I think out of respect, I love the Paul Cotter play. This is actually a great grid for us to go for uniqueness because of the bottom two rows.
Oh yeah.
Not being teams. That's going to help us tremendously. I don't think Paul Cotter could be a high answer at all. Out of respect, throw Paul in there.
He's got to be below 5%, right?
I think he might even be lower, Jack. I think the highest
0.6. Wow.
That counts as 0 for the overall. There's no rounding up there. That's
okay. So hey, that's just as good.
Great shout.
Should we stay on this row? Let's knock out this row first.
Yeah. Okay. Let's think here. Bruins born in North America.
Maybe like a random Oilers for you here.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
James Neal?
Right, and don't forget that North America includes Canada as well. So it's
that's what I was thinking.
Not just an American player, which really, really opens things up. So you can get basically as obscure as you want with these. Man, I feel like I could get a really rare Bruin.
Oh, didn't Riley Smith play for them?
Riley Smith?
Yeah.
For the Bruins?
Yeah.
No, he played for the Rangers. Smith.
I'm talking like 10 years ago, like before he's even in Vegas. Before he's in Florida.
He was a Panther, and
I'm saying before Florida. I think he was a Bruin originally.
That's crazy. I don't know, but I actually one I think I do know is Riley Nash. Not Riley.
Oh, Smith. I like that. Was he like a Hurricane maybe too?
Yeah, I think so. Toss me Riley Nash. That's so random, but I feel really good about that one. Riley Nash, yeah.
0.1.
See, I told you we're gonna go low on these these here. But that's a good shout with the Riley Smith though, because that really got me thinking.
Yeah. Hey, we're just throwing out names here, baby. What if we got who is filling out Oilers North America and putting down Curtis Joseph?
I feel like he's actually a pretty well-known Oiler. As crazy as that might sound.
Yeah, I know. Ugh.
I mean, you
Dwayne Rollison?
Dwayne Rollison. Yeah. Because
he was an Oiler, no?
I think for sure. Yeah. And that's not a name that people are. Is Dwayne Rollison?
I'm not gonna select it yet, but I'm just gonna type it in. Do you know how to spell it?
I think it's just one L.
How do you feel about it?
I don't think Dwayne comes from anywhere outside North America. I think
you'd have to think, right? I mean, you know what? If we get skunked on a Sweden the first time we do it, we get skunked on a Sweden the first time we do it, and we never forget for the rest of our lives.
No, this is too valuable. We can't do Dwayne Rollison. I'd rather look it up after.
That's got to be. I think it's got to be low, though.
I'm too scared, dude. I feel like he's not. No.
He has to be. I think now we're tweaking ourselves out.
We're overthinking it. Let's put Dwayne Rollison in.
And if I'm wrong, I take everything on this.
Nice.
Okay,
nice.
0.7.
Not bad. Not bad. All right. Outside North America. The first one that for a Bruin that really jumps at me is Marco Sturm, but he's the head coach right now. And I feel like a lot of people, he's a notable form.
What if
like Chara, Krejci, like all those guys come to mind. But
was Miroslav Satan on the Bruins?
I don't know, but I do know that Tomasz Nosek, former Golden Knight.
Yes, he was a Bruin. Yes, he was. You good to lock that in?
Yeah, I really like Tomasz.
Okay. Yeah, that is so good with me.
There he is. Stanley Cup champion with Florida
Stanley
as well.
Cup champion. Stanley Cup finalist as well. Scored the first ever Stanley Cup goal in franchise history for the Knights.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to really, really, really get crazy with it. What about I've got an unbelievable one for the Devils. It's Alexei Ponikarovsky.
Wow.
Ponikarovsky. I remember him because
This one right here?
Yeah, right up at the top there. Alexei Ponikarovsky. Yeah,
there we go.
Really good.
They're all below 1.
We are never going to be able to beat the score, by the way. This is a terrible first grid for us to have because we're never going to beat the score.
Was there anyone besides Yari Curry on like the Gretzky teams who was born outside?
Definitely, but like I don't know those rosters that well, to be honest. Oilers outside North America. This is, I mean, I've got an unbelievable. This one is. Do you remember the guy? Oh man, what's his name? It's like Linus something or Linus. He did the spinorama move in the shootout for them. This was like 2013 when they were playing in the Rexall Arena and they were really terrible. This is after they just had like 3 consecutive first.
Like the Yakupov era, like.
Yes, like right in there. This guy for them, he was like a real young stud type prospect. He comes out for the shootout, and as soon as he picks the puck up, he does a huge spinorama, like as he's coming in towards the net. There's a fake slap shot and goes 5-hole. Try like Linus Omark, I think is his name, but bottom middle. Linus Omark. Linus.
This guy?
Yeah, I think that's who we want. We want Linus Omark.
Wow.
1%. Oh,
we'll take a 1.
Dude, every other guy's under 1. I can't believe that he's a 1% answer for that.
We can look after too.
That's ridiculous, man. That's crazy.
I mean, these 3 are going to be the hard ones, though.
All right, so I got a couple names here off the top of my head for you.
Okay.
Top left, I see Torrey Krug.
Mm-hmm.
I see David Backes.
Yeah.
That's what's jumping out to me immediately there.
And if we had to,
we have
Krug is probably lower, right?
I don't know, man. They're both probably even on.
Yeah.
But we can find someone lower than that.
I feel like they always trade with each other.
Devils and Blues. We have a safety of Jamie Langenbrunner. I know for sure. Played for both of those teams. And then we talked about Broberg already for the Oilers and the Blues.
Yeah.
Jake Wallman is one that works up there too. People forget that Jake Wallman was a Blue.
Yeah, I think that would 100% be lower.
Yeah, I think that would maybe be better. The offer sheet guys are going to be so recent. I think Wallman, I don't hate Wallman.
Should we try ripping him to see one go through in the top row?
I mean, yeah, we know he'll go through, but it's just a matter of is he lower than Broberg? Is he lower than Holloway? Is he lower?
I think he would be lower than.
I think he's lower than Pronger too, probably.
I think he's lower than every name we've mentioned so far.
Yeah, out of all the teams he's played for, he broke out really with Detroit, and I feel like that's what people will remember before he went to San Jose and eventually Edmonton. Let's just do it. Who cares?
Okay.
We're here to have fun.
We are here to have fun.
Cujo is probably a big one too. Yeah, Jake Wallman. Let's see it. That's
1%.
Awesome. That's awesome. See, we thought through it the right way. We got
Yep. That's how you play the game out. That's how you talk it out. Well, what is the ballpark in your head right now? If I were to say Jake Allen in that spot, what do you think that's registering score wise?
I think it's lower than Brodeur. I think Brodeur will be the popular one there. I don't know about we might get lucky with Langenbrunner, honestly, just because he's a former player and Jake Allen still plays right now. I think people might go through their head and think, Jake Allen's on that roster, we can use him. Jamie Langenbrunner, I think that one might be less unique because he's not playing anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
For me, it's between Allen and Langenbrunner for what we pick. So
I agree with that. Brodeur will be the highest. I think when I think Langenbrunner, I think that'll be like Brodeur tier of like people will know it.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, he was the best player on a Stanley Cup championship team.
I mean, you can make the call on this one because I've certainly I've commanded a lot of the board here in terms of making you input names. So
no, this is a team effort.
I like your call here. Jake Allen. Who are we forgetting? There's got to be somebody down the road.
Yeah. And then Bruins Blues.
Just let's do Jake Allen.
Okay.
Let's take your guy.
I don't want to be the one to screw it. Okay, 11. That's not terrible.
Not terrible.
15 still.
Did Alexander Steen play for the Bruins?
Now we're having a very interesting conversation.
I would need confirmation on that. I feel like he left the Blues very briefly.
I can't sit here and give you confirmation. I can't.
I feel like he was a Bruin.
I can sit here and tell you that in the back of my head, it sounds so right, and I want to go type it in so bad. But if you're looking for me to give you zero doubt in the back of my head, there is no way this is wrong. It's Alex Steen. I will not put my neck out on the line for that.
I think we've established that we know enough here to where we know we could play it safe, and we could take Torrey Krug or we could take David Backes here in the top left.
I'd rather risk it for Steen.
I think we shoot for Alex Steen here.
I like it. Let's play.
Alexander Steen.
Oh
my God! What have I done, man? We gave it everything we had. Though
we did. Let's still before we
knew that
up the show. Let's take a look at the answers here.
We were really trying to go low, and we weren't going to go low if we had Backes or Krug.
Oh.
Krug is 32. Yeah.
Okay.
There
was 30.
Click on Torrey Krug and see what the other answers were underneath there.
Backes was 11. Halak was the goalie.
Patrick Maroon, shame on me.
Shattenkirk.
Kevin Shattenkirk, I should have known too. That's a tough one. That was definitely the toughest one.
That was a tough one. Jim Carrey.
I can live with missing on that one. Final thoughts was that I had an absolute blast.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna have to really cut some of the Puckpedia there at the end, but there's certainly no cheating going on there because
no cheating.
As we've outlined, like
we lost. You know, if we were cheating, we would have won.
True.
I'd probably put my hand up and say that'd be the biggest indicator we did not cheat.
We reflect the great game of hockey, which we talk about. We are not like jerks in Profar. We do not put metaphorical needles in our ass by checking Hockeydb, the official DB of this podcast. We don't do that. So we gave it everything we had there. We went for uniqueness, and what the hell, man? That's what it's all about. We knew we could put names there, but we wanted to go low. So,
and also huge, and people won't even talk about it. I did run it through my head as you said it, Adam. Like, yeah, what if we roll a 6 right here and then we just never do that again? Starting out at 130, which, hey, by the way, there's worse scores out there. I saw some myself when we checked the stats page. We can build up. You know, I mean, there's we have something to look forward to next week.
Absolutely, 113. I mean. Yeah, I mean, if we put in like Backes or Krug, we're sitting at like 40-some% probably for our uniqueness score. So there's always going to be room for us to go down there, but we'll try to go lower than 113 is the goal next week. Lower,
yeah, absolutely. We're gonna be back next week. Not quite sure which day.
Under one,
yeah. What?
Under 113. Take the prop.
Under. Yeah, no, under 113 and a half. Or no, not even. Well, 112 and a half. We're going under. I will give you that. But yeah, so we'll hit probably the back end of what happens here on the trade deadline. Any other big NHL stories going on, then hit you once again. As always, with that DB, a fight. What else do we do? Puckpedia.
Yeah, we got
a good guy of the week.
Yeah, exactly.
Adam, give me if I could get one rule to follow as I live out the rest of this week as we end the show today. What would you tell me?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple things here to sign off, Jack. Just to really give us some closure from my side before you want to officially wrap us up. Number one, happy World Baseball Classic to everybody. That's baseball. Shout out to Mike Lange. Happy birthday, Mike Lange. Elvis has just left the building. Leaves you with rule number one, Jack. Have fun. If there's one rule I can give you every day, every week, have fun. Rule number one.